Okay, so today, today Friday, the 5th of December 2025, we have roughly some 25, 26 days for the year to end. There are two major current countries having events fundamentally today. Good morning, Mr. Michael. Okay. By 2:30 p.m., there will be employment change and unemployment rate from Canada, and that will impact upon the Canadian dollar. I'll show you the pairs I'm looking at for that particular event. And 4 p.m. there will be core PCI price index and prelim UOM consumer sentiment. Also prelim UOM inflation expectation from the United States. So these are the two countries having major events today, and I'll also show you the pair I'm looking at for that too. So let's just flip over to the charts. We'll look at charts to know where we are heading today. I'll start with the GBP USD, and that will also cater for the news from the United States later today by 4 p.m. Though there will still be afternoon analysis session that will, give us more insight into this particular upcoming event. But then let's just see what we have on the charts to get started with. I'll be looking at the GBP USD, like I said. Now, in recent time, GBP USD have been more in the bullish, I've more been experiencing the bullish, massive bullish breakout. I've seen it in an uptrend for quite some days now. But looking at the chart critically from technical perspective, I discovered that price currently, yesterday rather hit the Fibonacci level 50. And overall trend is bullish, but price has hit 50 Fibonacci. There's a likelihood of a retracement. I always tell us critical Fibonacci levels are Fibonacci 50 and 61.8. Anytime price hits any of these levels, there is a likelihood of a retracement or a complete reversal. So the price hitting Fibonacci 50 yesterday and closing with a bearish rejection candle is telling us there's a high possibility of a retracement, either a retracement or a complete reversal. One of it is really going to happen to price on GBP USD. So we have a bearish sentiment on the GBP USD with that Fibonacci level being hit. And going down to okay, let me do something at that level, that Fibonacci 50 level. I'm going to mark it with a rectangle box so that we'll know that we actually have a resistance zone around that area. All right, so I'll remove the Fibonacci tool now. Then go down to 1 hour time frame, and on 1 hour, I'm seeing the formation, the clear formation of a head and a shoulder pattern, which all things being equal should trigger into a bearish movement. However, we need to wait for price to clearly break out below the neckline. So this is what we're waiting for today. So in the course of today, if the dollar is able to experience some strength, which will lead to a bearish movement on the GBP USD, then we'll be expecting a breakout of price below the neckline region. And if that could happen anytime today, but most importantly during the news in the afternoon, that might trigger a further bearish movement. I'm flipping over now to the Forex Factory. So in the afternoon today, like I said, it can happen anytime. It can start this morning. So I'm not saying you have to wait till afternoon. So if the data from the United States by 4 p.m., if it comes out all good for the dollar, all good will be a green color, then that means that that will lead to a bearish movement for the GBP USD. But again, for emphasis sake, this movement may start before afternoon. So watch the GBP USD closely today. Anytime price is able to make a clean breakout below the neckline, RSI clearly below 50. MACD is about to cross below zero. It's not compulsory crosses, but what is most important is we have a new candle breakout below the neckline, giving us a head and shoulder, a new candle below, RSI below 50. You're free to trigger a sell on GBP USD. And the profit potential on this today, at least price will hit the Fibonacci 50 level 50, and that can give as much as about 20 to 22 pips. Fibonacci 50 can give 61.8 rather can give as much as 61.8 pips. And if the volatility is strong, Fibonacci 78.6 can give as much as around 75 pips. So get ready to catch at least 20 pips on GBP USD today, all things being equal. There's sufficient volatility to push the price. So we're bearish on the GBP USD. Now, similarly, we are bearish on GBP CAD also, and this one will be more impacted by the news from Canada in the afternoon. Again, the movement could start before the news in the afternoon, because this is a head and shoulder pattern. It could start before then. If it starts before then, you're free to enter. Now for the GBP CAD, this is GBP CAD on the daily time frame. Price also hit, in this case, a support turned resistance zone yesterday, and closed on that level and closed with a bearish rejection candle. That means automatically we're looking for a bearish movement on GBP CAD today. So again, if we flip down to the 1 hour time frame, it's equally giving us a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder. So the next wave of movement also is a bearish breakout, is what we're expecting. Now, please don't forget that head and shoulder patterns are high probability setup when we trade technicals. Very high probability. I'm not saying it cannot fail, but out of 10, most of the time, 7, 8, 9 times it works. All right, so what we're going to wait out for again is just like the GBP USD, we're waiting for a breakout of price below the neckline region, and from there we can trigger a sell. So again, for this one, I'll go to the Forex Factory page again. We're expecting news from Canada by 2:30 p.m. today. If the data comes out good, green, for the Canadian dollar, that will lead to a bearish movement on GBP CAD. For emphasis again, if the data in the afternoon by 2:30 p.m. comes out good for the Canadian dollar, that will lead to a bearish movement for GBP CAD. And like I said earlier, it is possible this bearish movement may even start before the 2:30 p.m. So watch this instrument closely from this morning, and anytime the breaker happens, you're free to trigger a sell trade. So we're bearish on both the GBP USD and the GBP CAD. Similarly, for the CAD event, we still have Euro CAD also. All right, so this is Euro CAD on the daily time frame. Price seems to form what is close to a symmetrical triangle, but that's actually not my emphasis. The emphasis is that price makes a series of lower high and a third one yesterday. Price closed with a rejection candle on the daily time frame, and it's a bearish rejection candle. So technically, we're looking for a bearish movement. So we can flip down to 1 hour, and on the 1 hour, um, you might want to draw a trend line right here. Let me remove this lower trend line so that it doesn't confuse us. But what is critical now, you can see that price has broken out. So the next wave of movement we're expecting is that downward movement, a breakout, a slight retest, and a continuation. So for the Euro CAD, if price breaks out below this recent low, then you can trigger a sell on the Euro card. So whichever one triggers first between GP card and Euro card, you're free to take it. But then the GP card actually has a higher probability compared to the Euro card. That one is having the confirmed head and shoulder. This one is a rising wave, which is a valid also. I'm not saying it's not valid, but for me, that's is giving a higher probability. But whichever one triggers first, you're free to take. So we're bearish on both the GP USD, we're bearish on the GP card, we're bearish on the Euro card. And finally, I'm also looking today at the AUD JPY. I've been looking at this in the last couple of days, and most likely we may get the breakout today. Now, I've mentioned this maybe yesterday or the previous day. I can't remember. I think yesterday. I think I mentioned it yesterday. For AUD JPY on the weekly time frame, price is coming from a support turned resistance zone. This is still okay. That's not so close. A support turned resistance. So technically, we're expecting a continuation to the downside. So we come to 1 hour time frame, and we have a shoulder, a head, a second shoulder. We're expecting a breakout to the downside. So once the new candle breaks out below the neckline region, RSI is already below 50. MACD is about to cross below 0. If it crosses, fine. But if it doesn't, it's still not, it doesn't validate it. But either way it goes, we are bearish on the AUD JPY on 1 hour. All the setup I've given today, they are all 1 hour. They are all intraday. So want to enter a sell once price breaks out below the neckline, which is below this rectangle box. And the potential movement on this can be as much as about 25 pips to Fibonacci 30.2, about 50 pips to Fibonacci 50, and about 80 pips to Fibonacci 61.8. So watch this closely today. Now you can see we have about 3 setups that are head and shoulder pattern. That tells you, the market is having some high probability setup. As a roundup, we're bearish on the JPUSD on 1 hour. We're bearish on the GBP card on 1 hour. We're bearish on Euro card on 1 hour. And we're bearish on the AUD JPY on 1 hour. So please watch this setup closely. These are very good setups to watch for today being Friday. And let's see how the market, goes in all these directions. All right, that'll be the end of my analysis this morning. If you have any question, you can go ahead and post. BTC USD. Okay, so let's quickly check that. I've had this setup on BTC for some days now, but the market has been really quiet on it. We experience more of a range. We have a descending trend line and a support term resistance with a confluence here, which was expected to trigger into a massive sell, but the market has not really been cooperating. It's been doing more of a range. It's been doing more of a range. So the price has been ranging more on BTC for this period. Let's see. Setup is still valid, but volatility has not been so strong to drive price downwards. So I would say be cautious around BTC USD for now. It's not having enough of volatility to push price down. Gold. Yeah, we expected clear breakout on gold yesterday, but just dropped a little and it's finding its way back up. So let's check on the bigger time frame to know what could happen to gold. All right, so gold is returning back to the resistance on the daily time frame. So if it hits this resistance, there is a possibility for a reversal. So let's flip down again to 15 minutes. Yeah, until it gets there, that's when we'll know the next thing. But if it passes that resistance, there's a possibility for a drop. Though I'm not seeing any specific pattern that could trigger us into a sell. But first things first, just allow price to hit that resistance, then we'll know the next thing to do on gold. So it's still in a zone where we can't trade yet. Only we expect it to hit the resistance, and we'll know how to capture the move afterwards. USD CHF, Nancy, all right. Yeah, if you observe, I didn't mention anything about the dollar index and the major pairs except for the GPUSD because there's not been stability around the dollar since yesterday. It's only GPUSD that gives something really, really clear. You know, others have not been too stable. Sincerely, there's no clarity around USD for now. There's no clarity. Yes, price seems to break out above what is looking like a falling wedge, but I would have preferred if I can find maybe a trend line or a support, but I can't, this is not a valid one. It's not touching a third point. I'm not seeing the support on resistance. The things I look out for personally, I can't seem to find around this one. So I'll be very cautious to make any statement. The only thing I can say about it for now is this: there is a minor resistance up here. That's for USD. So if price hit this resistance, we may expect some bearish movement. That's all I can say for now. So, so if price hit this, we may get a downward movement. The other thing is just that in the afternoon, since there's okay, that we don't have a dollar news. What we have is can it okay, sure, we do by 4 p.m. We have a dollar news by 4 p.m. That might also, even though we don't have on the chart as at this moment, I really don't have much clarity on the chart. The news from the United States in the afternoon might, have its own impact. But what I'm seeing technically is this: price might go up to hit that resistance. There is a rising wedge forming on 15 minutes time frame. That might now lead to a breakout to the downside. But to be honest, it depends largely on the news in the afternoon. Now, don't forget we have a very clear setup on the GBP USD. And from the setup on GBP USD, we are actually expecting a bullish dollar. It's a bullish dollar that will lead to that reversal on the GBP USD. So if we want to take a position on the dollar based on that, then we might be expecting price to possibly even break out above this. But to be honest, on the USHF is all clear for now. So I'd rather just stick with the GBUSD that has clarity compared to any other major peers. Mark Brown, good question. What are your exit criteria on these trades? That's a good question. All right, so I'll go to the GBP USD. Exit criteria can either be take profit or a stop loss. So take profit, I think I gave for a couple of them using the Fibonacci tool. And for stop loss, if you're trading generally, if your stop loss, if it's a sell trade like on this GBP USD, your recent high, which in this case is also a resistance level, can as well be the stop loss. And not just exactly the high point itself, but even like some 5 pips above it can be your stop loss. So that's quite safe. Now, all things being equal, if this forms clearly as a head and shoulder pattern, there's a high probability price is going to drop. But notwithstanding, still have to put a stop loss where it's meant to be. You know, stop loss is there to protect your account in case things didn't go as planned. So the same thing you can replicate for the other pairs, since virtually all of them are head and shoulder except for one. I think that's the Euro card. That's the only one that's not head and shoulder. But for every other one is a head and shoulder. So your recent high will be your stop loss. That's a response to Mark Brown. All right. AUD card, DJ30, USD JPY. All right. So I will end after all these three. AUD card. So AUD card is trading exactly at a resistance level on the daily time frame. Price is trading exactly at a resistance level. And we also have a rising wedge pattern. So we're going to be expecting a breakout to the downside. Now, don't forget we have a news from Canada in the afternoon, and our projection for that news is that the data comes out good for the Canadian dollar. Because if it comes out good for the Canadian dollar, we're expecting a reversal on the GBP card, and the same thing will valid for the AUD card also. So a good data for the dollar, sorry, for the Canadian dollar will mean we expect a reversal on the AUD card. So we're bearish on the AUD card. You're welcome, Mark Brown. DJ30. You're welcome, AA. All right, so this is DJ30. Let's check. DJ30 is in a range at the moment. Definitely fabulous. I'll drop the link to the video, to the recorded version, which you're free to watch after now. So DG30 is in a range at the moment, and price could break out to the upside or to the downside. Wherever the breakout happens, that's where the market goes. However, on the 1 hour, we're having a rising wedge pattern, which, depending on market movement today, could trigger price to the bearish direction. So if price goes to the bearish direction, we'll have a much more bigger movement compared to if it goes to the upside because of the rising wedge. So it would have been better if there's a corresponding resistance, which I can't seem to find. I can't seem to find a corresponding resistance on any of the time frames, even up to weekly. There's no corresponding resistance. But let's just make two. The central point is that even if we want to ignore the rising wedge, price is in a range at the moment, and we could experience a breakout to the upside or to the downside. So you can take note of that for the person asking. USD JPY. Now today is Friday. Please, I also want to encourage us to trade with a lot of caution, especially in the afternoon. Especially in the afternoon, trade with a lot of caution. Now for USD JPY, now most of the JPY pairs are actually bearish, but USD JPY, well, in technical analysis, you trade what you see. For me, on technicals, for USD JPY, this is a resistance turned support. That is what I'm seeing technically. The data may change that when it was released later in the afternoon, but technically this is what I'm seeing at the moment. If you have a resistance turned support, then there's a likelihood of a bullish movement. And that also in a way will support what we're seeing on GBP USD, where we're expecting a bearish movement. It means the data for the dollar might have to come out good for us to see a bearish movement on the GBP USD. So if the data in the afternoon comes out good, you're welcome, Madam Onaji. If it comes out good for the dollar, then that may support this technical we're seeing of a support on resistance on the USD JPY. So if that happens, let's go down to 1 hour and look for possible entry. On 1 hour, I'm seeing what is actually on two angles. On the first angle, we're seeing what is looking like a double bottom pattern, which may lead to a trigger on the upside if price breaks out above the neckline. And the second option is an inverse head and shoulder pattern, which may still trigger a movement to the upside. So let's just watch out for the news in the afternoon. If it comes out good for the dollar, then that will support this bullish analysis on the USD JPY. Okay, I think I'm even getting more clarity. I'm seeing the falling wedge. All right, so either ways, either as a double bottom or inverse head and shoulder. In addition, we have a falling wedge pattern, which is also a bullish reversal pattern. So I would say I'm bullish on the USD JPY from a technical perspective, because that's what I'm seeing technically. I'm bullish on the USD JPY. For the person asking about gold, we've analyzed gold already. Like I said, we're only waiting for gold to hit this resistance. Anything can happen from there. But the analysis for now is not beyond that. We're not having any clarity on the entry yet until further notice. All right, I think I've attended to all the requests here. Bankole Kayode, I'm actually done, but I'll just oblige you. I'm not taking any other one after this. GBP NZD. Now for GBP NZD, a couple of days ago, I gave us my outlook on this the afternoon session. Price is in an uptrend, making higher lows, and 2 days ago or 3 days ago, it closed with a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern. But today is Friday. See, on Fridays, we are extremely cautious with the market. What I'm seeing now is price trading around a support term resistance, and that may lead to a retracement. That may lead to a retracement to the downside. So we'll flip down to 1 hour time frame. Now, this instrument has been in a kind of a range. It's not having clear patterns. Technically, we're actually looking for a bearish movement. If it breaks out to the downside, you may take a sell. But at the same time, since it's a range, we may experience a breakout to the upside. Just look at this recent low and the recent high. Any breakout in any direction, in either direction, that's where the market is going. But be careful because, like I said, it's a range. It's not having a very clear-cut movement. So if it's possible to, if you are not already on the trade on it, I will advise that you avoid it. All right, hey, where can I get the recording on how to use oscillators and indicators, please? Just send me a chat. We had a class on that last week. I think last week, Wednesday, thereabout. So just send me a chat on WhatsApp. I'll send the link to you. It's actually on our YouTube channel, but to make it easier for you to navigate, just send me a chat on WhatsApp. I'll send the link to you. All right. So with that, we come to the end of the analysis this morning. Trade safe. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye bye.